Welcome to the Big Fat Gay Podcast, where we talk about the things that are weighing on our minds. I'm Dan Oliverio, author, chubby chaser, and public speaker. And today, I feel like a great big ball of sunshine. It is a lovely day. I think it's Sunday. It's not, but I think it's Sunday.
Gay. You think it's Sunday because you're a big ball of sunshine?
I'm talking on sunshine.
I'm Trevor Keyson. I'm a super chub. I'm next to Dan. I'm in West Hollywood. And I don't know, I'm good. It's a nice day. It's
ball of sunshine. Ball of goddamn sunshine.
It's Monday.
You better perk the fuck up.
I had my coffee. I had some frozen pumpkin waffles from Trader Joe's.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah, they're tasty.
Yeah.
I think you most enjoyed the rosettes of butter I made, did you not?
Yes.
Butter rosettes. That sounds really good. God, I'm hungry now. Damn it. I'm Michael. I am a chaser, and I think I echoed Trevor's vibe today. I don't know where that came from. Oh, I know where it came from. I was just in Boston for a week working with Craig at the Boston Gay Men's Chorus, which was very good and very tiring. Going through the archives, pulling up stuff for the documentaries.
Whoa.
It's good stuff, but I'm like so glad to be back. And I'm just like exhausted. But I'm ready to do a show.
Welcome home.
With all the enthusiasm.
Hi. My name's Don Marshall. I'm a big chubby guy living here in sunny Hollywood, and today I'm an energy-filled energy boy. And if I say that enough times, it'll be true.
Ball of sunshine.
It's the sad part is it isn't even actually that early. We're just really late risers.
It's not. I think it's just the vibes right now. Trevor said it best. Mercury is in retrograde, and I don't believe in that shit, but this summer I do. This summer.
Apparently Mercury's been in retrograde for the past 8 years or something. I don't know,
and it seems to happen every 7 weeks or something. I don't know.
It does happen more frequently than people let on. But definitely like June sucked for me, and then August sucked, and now... Well, I think we're coming out of it, though. I'm really excited for Halloween, for fall. I've determined that it is going to be the best fall in this year.
It's going to be the rise of fall.
The best fall this year. And I'm looking forward to it. We're going to throw a Halloween party with friends, close friends later. Yes, it's good stuff down the road. But we have a show, barely.
Yeah, let's get to it. Let's get the fuck to it, everybody.
Get into it. So this, I like this. I actually, I don't think you've told me the story.
No,
I don't think so to anyone.
I had another experience with reality TV casting. Last year, was it real? Was it last year or was it 2 years ago? I can't remember.
I think it was last year. If it's
It feels so much longer.
Sometime in the not so distant past.
It was pre-pandemic. It was like this, I think was one of the last things we talked about before the pandemic really kind of hit hard. So last year, I was reached out to by Casting for My 600-Pound Life, along with many others on Instagram. So when I was reached out to about another show that did not name itself, I was dubious, but I got the following message. This was September still, because we're in October now. Hi, Trevor. I'm a producer at this production studio that I'm not going to name in Los Angeles. We're currently casting for a body positive plus size show with A&E. I saw your Instagram page and thought you'd be a great fit. Are you free to hop on a quick call so I can tell you a bit about it and so we can learn about you as well? I think you'd be great on it, and it would be so great to connect. Okay. A lot of great here. Great. Please let me know. Thank you. So I was immediately dubious, and I took the production company name. I looked them up. They didn't have a lot, but there was a lot of buzz about them and like shows they're doing. And then I found a casting call on Backstage for the production company. Casting a body positive plus size show. Production states, are you a plus size person who does something unexpected? Do you have a job do you have a job that people would not expect you to be able to do? We're looking for big characters in a small world to be part of a cast for a multi-part primetime docuseries. Plus size persons in unusual occupations, fully body positive. No, not weight loss oriented at all. Connected characters are a plus.
I mean, I hate to overuse the phrase, but that is something.
It's something.
Yeah, that wouldn't be
right?
that wouldn't on its face be awful. Yeah.
I was dubious, but like the fact that they're so like, this isn't a weight loss show. I was like, okay.
But it does kind of have that weird kind of still body
Fat
positive.
boys in a fishbowl.
Yeah, well, not just in a fishbowl, but like, oh my God, can you believe that they can actually do this?
Yes. Like, look, he's walking.
Oh my God, he's moving around. And
Okay, but
So I respond. I messaged Dan like, well, what do you think about this? And he's like, I think you should look into it. I respond to her. I don't really hear back. I hear back. She's like, okay, I'm going to set up a call with you and the other producer,
Okay.
whose name is blah, blah, blah. And I look him up and like, he's legit. He's done a lot. A lot of it is kind of like, it's the like, not Duck Dynasty, but like people trying to capture that feeling because Duck Dynasty was so huge. Like country people, like country kids doing stuff. Like there was one that was like Hot Grits, which is like grits means girls raised in the South.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh my.
So I really like don't know what to expect going into
This
the
call,
call.
yeah.
So I get on a Zoom call with this guy and he's like, oh, you know, I know our producer told you a little bit about it. He's like, so it's the show started as someone we know reached out to us and he has a body positive camp. It's not a weight loss camp. It's a body positive camp.
Okay.
And we wanted to do a docuseries about the camp and we brought it to Annie and they're like, well, we like the body positive thing.
But nothing else.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the project is think Reno 911 meets Duck Dynasty, which those are two completely different things.
Yeah.
And this is not like we are veering off from docuseries.
One is a campy farce.
But that makes. But is it for a pitch line?
Yeah,
that
and
makes
the
total
other
sense.
is done by improv actors.
Yes.
Yeah, but as a pitch line, that makes total
Done.
sense because the point of that kind of pitch is not to explain it, but to pique your interest, and it does. You're like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, true.
The show is Big Bugs Inc. You know, it's a bunch of exterminators. They're like a family. And, you know, we want to do a demo reel of you right now on Zoom. So like, are you up for that? And I am flabbergasted.
Wait. Sorry. Okay. I thought you were joking just now.
No,
That's
no.
it?
Yes,
that's
that is
the
it.
show.
That's
What?
the show. Yes. And I am just,
This is jump the rails.
Yeah, but it completely explains the marriage of Reno
And the
911.
rails were already built over sharks. Like, what the fuck?
and it is so like, okay, so Reno 911 meets Duck Dynasty. You're putting fat people in jumpsuits, which, you know, I look very tubby in a jumpsuit.
Don't be modest, honey.
It is a look depending on the jumpsuit. This like exterminator jumpsuits are not meant to be flattering. They're meant to prevent you from
Dying.
So putting fat people in jumpsuits, making them crawl into tight places, covering them in cockroaches, like this is that casting fat people does not make a show body positive.
Okay, so leave behind everything we started this segment off
Yes.
with. That's not relevant anymore.
Which, to be fair, they never claimed was accurate. This was just driven up by Trevor's research.
Well, and it's like, this is, well, the woman that reached out to me, whatever, it veered. And I said, I told him I did research before and like, oh yeah, I saw the casting call on Backstage. He's like, oh yeah, that was us. But like, that was an older iteration of the show.
Yeah.
I was just, I'm like, I am literally flabbergasted. This is just so far from anything. Like, I didn't know what it was going to be coming into this call, but I'm like, this is nowhere near what I thought you were going to tell me.
So to
show
be
was.
clear, this is no longer reality TV. This is
It's
like
scripted
semi-scripted
reality.
So you would have to be an actor.
Yes.
Which is what confused
Well, and
me.
you would have to go kill bugs.
yeah.
No, they use stunt bugs. No bugs are actually harmed in the making of this project, Don.
That's funny.
He was apologetic that like I was so, because I was just like I'm like, if I knew what this was, like if it was like Big Bugs Inc., I would not have done this call.
Yeah.
And I was
I
like,
think they
anyone
knew
you're-
that.
Well, and not to worry, there's no way this is going to see the light of day because of the inherent contradiction of we found people on Instagram and we want them to be improv actors. Like that's not how that works.
Right.
Well, and finding body positive people, like anyone, like most people are when I told a friend about this, I didn't even say the whole like, jumpsuit thing. They immediately went there like, oh, they just want to put fat people in jumpsuits and cover them in bugs and make them crawl
Yeah.
into,
Yeah.
spaces they're not going to fit into.
And hilarity
for
ensues.
comedy.
I guarantee episode 1 will have someone stuck halfway into a hatch underneath the house. You're just going to have a butt and some legs sticking out, flailing around.
I think that's the logo.
I will say,
And they'll keep cutting back to that every 5 minutes
Yeah.
while someone else is running around in a panic. Like,
I think zooming out for a second, like there are like Reno 911. I haven't watched a lot of it, but I've seen it before.
Yeah.
And they're like, all of those people are funny because they do things that are ridiculous that are not supposed to make them look dignified. I think the disconnect here is that they're actors, first of all, they know, and comedians, and they know what they're doing. And nobody would claim that they are like, you know, I don't know, like, I think there's one guy who's like incredibly flamboyant, and like nobody's claiming that he's like gay positive. Like he's just a funny character. So like to say that this is a fat positive show, like fine, if you want, this is a cast of fat actors and comedians who go into it and they think that they're going to make it funny, great. But don't pretend like that's somehow body positive or fat positive.
Yes.
It's just a funny show, and it will make fun of fat people, and that's what it's going to be. But don't pretend like it's going to somehow
They're like a
forward the
family.
movement.
As
or like,
I hate to say it, but again, once again, this like I've gone into this in the past. This is the pattern for minority representation in entertainment. Like you go through a phase where you're ignored. You go through a phase where you show up and you're the heroic person overcoming everything. And then you become the butt of the joke for about 10 years. You know, the fat people have already been the butt of the joke. So we're kind of returning to
It's
that
like-
after every
it's like the
cycle.
awkward laugh of like, we can laugh about this now, right?
Yeah.
But then it goes on for 10 years.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
Don't
I'm
worry,
curious if any listeners were reached out to about.
so you've
Big
been
Bugs.
cast on the show.
Yes.
And
When does it premiere?
yeah. Oh, you've already shot it? Wow. Congratulations. That was
It's all.
fast.
It takes place over Zoom. they sent me a box of cockroaches.
Stunt cockroaches,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Hey, it's union.
They just pre-pinned them to the overall.
No, it's non-union. It's
non-union.
Oh, that's right. Of
explicitly
course,
non-union.
it's explicitly non-union. Yeah, that's so we can just give you a stipend and kiss you off, and you never get residuals.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, weird and unsettling, but hopefully it never actually comes to light.
But speaking of actual, I don't know, body positive plus size representation in media,
Yeah.
there is this great new So it's a documentary. The
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I thought we
So
were
this
going
is
somewhere
from
else.
Inglewood Herald, the Inglewood Herald, talking about a plus size woman who documented her Kilimanjaro climb with a group of other plus size hikers.
And this won an award at a particular film festival, right, for best documentary.
Yes.
Yeah.
The documentary is Kili Big.
Like Kilimanjaro.
Yeah.
But shortened.
So there, this article in Inglewood Herald. It's an interview with Kara Hardman, who is kind of featured heavily in the documentary. The group is the Curvy Kili Crew.
That's awesome, by the way.
I just love it because it like I would never ever want to hike, let alone climb Kilimanjaro. And it's so interesting hearing her talk about it because like I just can't help but go to the place of like you get to the top and then it's like, okay, now I gotta go all the way back down.
Yeah. That's why you bring a sled.
Where's my snack and my helicopter ride?
That's why you bring a helicopter. It's wicked impressive though.
Yeah.
I will say though, I think this is kind of an interesting 360 so Trevor, this is a documentary about fat people doing something that you wouldn't ordinarily expect them to do.
Exactly. Now wait a second. I've been tricked.
But here's the twist.
There are bugs on the trip.
Kilimanjaro is actually a giant bug that they have to slay. Stuff
I
on.
would watch this movie. I would totally watch this movie.
Yes, you would.
I think my favorite part about it is, so Kara talking about find a newer current fat friend who is fat and go with them. Fat joy in nature is the best.
I love that fat joy in nature.
When I think like that might be the one way I could like, I'm not going to, I'm not saying like Don, you and I next spring, Kilimanjaro. But like,
doing
I
it.
think doing something like, I don't know. I think I would want to go with like fat friends. I mean, most of my friends are either chasers or fat. Like
Life just works better that way.
So,
It's easier. And
but
more
like
fun.
being able to do that and like knowing people that just kind of understand your body and like get it, and it's not like a
Forced death march.
like that.
I have a lot of friends that are willing to go hiking with me, but I'm a little self-conscious about me wheezing on a hike
Yeah.
next to somebody who's like ready to trot up. You know,
Yeah, I'm not sure those thin friends are going to be so wheeze free.
Well, maybe not right now. You know?
They're gonna want to talk to you.
Yeah, and like I'm halfway up the mountain to the freaking observatory. I'm not holding a conversation. I'll listen to you, but I'm not going to respond.
Don and I are gonna hike Kilimanjaro in complete silence.
I'll pack your sandwiches.
And meet you at the top in the helicopter.
That's right.
Yes.
I like the idea, like she said, like fat joy in nature, because I think nature does have a lot to offer, but there's also this kind of, I guess, perception that you have to be like a super avid fitness hiker to enjoy it. Like that's the only way to have access to it. And I think that for me, by the way, is kind of a turnoff. Like a lot of my friends who are like, yeah, like nature and camping, it feels off-putting to me.
Oh, it's a fucking project. I want no part of that.
But I very much enjoy being out in nature. I just don't want to make it work. Not make it work, but make it into work.
Yeah, like I said, it's a project.
Yeah. It feels intense. But if you can do it in a way that just makes you feel relaxed.
Which is why I favor botanical gardens.
Which are very nice.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Descanso lights at Christmas.
Exactly.
That's my kind of hike.
We should do that. We should all do that.
I don't know if it's back this year or not.
Oh, true.
I
It
noticed
might
that
be.
the Halloween mazes are back this year.
Yeah.
But there's like only one of them is still a drive-through. The rest have gone back to walking through mazes.
Yeah.
Is that nature or is that just a bunch of hay bales?
Well, we've kind of jumped into like,
Outings.
events.
I'm
outings,
just
et cetera.
thinking of like a corn maze and cars are just tearing through.
I made a straight line. What was the problem?
Oh,
I haven't done it.
Actually, I took my goddaughter to one last year they simulated a corn maze for one segment of the car drive-through.
Did she make it out?
Most of us did.
Good.
Although I have to say, this was the one positive of the quarantine Halloween experience for us. I took her to this kid-friendly drive-through Halloween experience, and part of the advertised was there will be trick-or-treating safely from your car.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this little village set up. You drive by the houses, and I see people with baskets of candy. And it's like, oh, that's nice. You're going to drive up, you'll say trick or treat, and they'll put the basket next to your window. No, they walk up to the car, they wait for the kid to say trick or treat, and then they dump the entire basket of candy in their sunroof and raining candy on the child
That is delightful.
multiple times. You have never seen such joy in a child's face. It was
I have
awesome.
to say, because my criticism was going to be, so what's the difference between that and just, drive through McDonald's? And it's like, oh, well, that is the difference.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
I mean, her
That's
parents were
fun.
picking candy out of the car seats for weeks, apparently, but
Worth it.
That's what the dog
totally worth it.
Because that is the fun of Halloween. Like you get all you candy, you come back, and then like I don't know. We would always put like a sheet down on the floor, and then you just like upend the bucket.
Oh, yeah.
and just like the pouring out of all of your bounty is just like something so satisfying.
Isn't that a
about it.
scene from Aladdin where he gets out of the
Yeah.
he gets the loot?
I'm
Touch
curious,
nothing but the lamp.
did any of you ever have to hide your favorite candy from your parents?
No, people had to hide their favorite candy from me.
Oh, okay.
That was how that worked. All right. Well, is it time
I think it's time.
yes, it is. Oh,
think
here
it is.
I'm ready.
for it?
Ready.
Feel the power.
Fat Watch 2021. We're here. We're making it. Are you here? Are you ready?
Ready. Let's
We're
do it.
bloodied and bruised.
This will make sense in a second.
Yes. I wasn't even. I didn't even think about that connection.
Ha. Well, there you go.
So we have a little bit of a different Fat Watch this week, which I found
fun.
delightful. So last week we mentioned the author Matt Wallace, who is doing the Supervillain's Survival Guide to Being a Fat Kid. I can't remember exactly the wording of that title.
I think you got
That
it.
sounds about right.
I don't know if it had survival in it. Anyway, so Matt Wallace has been, I guess he's done this in the past, but this past Friday he announced he wants to continue doing. I'm blanking on the hashtag.
Fat fight scenes.
Yes.
Hashtag
Fat fight scenes on Fridays, where he basically compiles fat scenes from movies and TV featuring fat characters.
Fight scenes from. They are also fat scenes.
Fat scenes with fight characters.
Yes.
And I love this. This to me is fat joy.
Yeah.
There was a lot. So there were several fight scenes from this week. A couple from What We Do in the Shadows.
Yes.
There was the one that I think Don mentioned in
Into the
our,
Badlands.
yes.
Nick
from-
Frost.
Nick Frost, yeah.
Yes.
Which is not
his-
only a fight scene, but a comedy fight scene. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
But he is not the butt of the joke.
Oh, not at all.
Yeah.
No, just exactly. They were really cool to watch, but I have to say the Into the Badlands one was the one that really
I have been
wowed me.
trying to get you to watch that for like
I know,
5 years.
I know. I've been dragging my feet on that. But there's this one move that I'm sure a stunt double had to do, which is the same for any fight scene with actors and stunt doubles. But he does this like, I don't know, like semi capoeira / parkour move, like spin kicking off of a heightened area to land on something and then spin kicking again to land on his feet.
Is this supposedly the Nick Frost character?
This is the Nick Frost character. It is like, I mean, it was stunning to watch. I saw that. I was like, what?
Every one
What?
of his fight scenes in that show is like that.
Ugh.
Not
God, I need to
one
watch
of them-
this show. What the hell?
You really should have told him, Don.
Yeah.
I hate you all. I hate you all.
I just needed the teaser. That's all. Why didn't you show me something? God, I can't believe you call me my friend. Like,
God damn it.
Don, really, it was too many words, not enough pictures of hot fat guys fighting.
yeah, think it through,
I
Don.
definitely feel this guy. When I was a kid, like the woman in the fight scene was always the one that attracted my attention because that was the rare thing that was unusual. It never even occurred to me I would ever get to see a fat guy in a fight scene. And then I finally got to see Sammo Hung in a fight scene,
Yeah.
and that blew my mind, right? It's a fat Jackie Chan, and he's amazing at everything he does.
Yeah.
And then that went away.
In his case, like legendary actual martial arts expert.
No stunt double there. He
Yeah.
did that shit.
Yeah,
you know.
for sure.
What about, I mean, this may be slightly off topic, but in Doctor Strange, the Asian actor who plays, I don't know his name.
Wong.
Wong, yeah.
Wong. I mean, he has some fights. I mean, he's not absent from the fight scenes.
True. Yeah.
It's true. But the fighting that he does is mostly, let's face it, he mostly poses in the fight scenes.
As do I.
Because
Yeah.
he's casting magic and
That's true.
things are going through portals.
But still a fat
yeah.
actor who we haven't talked about.
No, we
before.
haven't.
Yeah, we haven't brought him up.
He's the first major fat character in the Marvel universe,
Is that
as far as
true?
I can think of.
Oh
No, Spider-Man's
I was going to
friend.
say
Happy.
Spider-Man's friends.
Yeah.
Or Happy.
No, Happy Hogan.
Oh, Happy Hogan. Yes, you're correct.
Yeah.
You're correct. I take it back.
And he gets some good moments.
Yeah. But very few, like, there's no fat superheroes. So
Yeah.
representation is growing, but we're not there yet.
And the thing I like about this hashtag too, this Twitter thread that Matt Wallace starts, is that he not only does he include commentary about the scenes, but he includes clips of the scenes too, in case you
Yeah.
didn't pick that up. So you can go like watch and enjoy some of these things. And in my case, like, I finally discovered this great show called Into the Badlands. And so I think I'm probably going to go watch that.
I'm going to beat your ass as soon as the microphones are off and no one can prove it.
Ooh, a fat fight scene.
But despite that being a lovely thing on Twitter, there's a whole lot that's not great on Twitter. Have you heard of this toxic website?
It's called Twitter.
Which actually, as we're recording this, it is the only like major kind of social media site online right now because Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, and Facebook Messenger are all down.
Yeah. There's something going down.
Yeah. Not Twitter though.
Not Twitter. Twitter goes strong.
So the main topic this week is kind of looking at. So I, as a Twitter user, an internet garbage brain
Power
person,
user. one might say.
there has been so much like fat phobia, anti-fat discourse on Twitter. But like, I mean, there's always that on the internet. I mean, it's the internet, it's
Yeah.
the world, but like amped up, like trending on Twitter. A couple things. Anna Navarro from The View. There was the whole thing with The View a couple weeks ago, and where two of the hosts tested positive for COVID in their like morning pre-tests. But I don't. it ended up happening where like they came out.
I think it was a false positive.
Yeah, it ended up being a false positive, but like they came out, they're like, oh,
They were
can you
having-
guys come back?
They were having Biden as a guest on the
No,
show.
Kamala Harris.
Or Kamala Harris. And they had to do the sort of high quality Insta test
Yeah.
right before she went on. And the results came in right before Kamala was
Yes.
to go on.
Like, anyway, so I hate even, but like Donald Trump Jr. was like saying something to Ana Navarro about her weight. She clapped back with like more fat phobia.
Well, there's a little more context there because remember, I think it was you who cited in our last episode some idiot lawmaker saying that like, well, the real problem with COVID is too many fat kids, and
Yes.
Yeah.
So this was a follow up. So he's climbing on that Republican bandwagon of the problem with COVID is really fat people.
Yes.
So he's saying to Ana Navarro, maybe we should talk about obesity and la 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 la, and she clapped back saying,
If you want to talk about obesity and COVID, you should talk to your dad.
if he's
Something
taking,
like that.
and then saying if he's taking your calls, which again doesn't really reroute it, or it doesn't really. It's I don't think it's a good clapback. It's sort of like, well, yeah, talk to your dad.
You're
gonna-
fat.
Yeah, you're fat. Your dad's fat too. Like, which is kind of not the message you wanted to send here.
There's a better way to handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's fine.
well, it's sorry, I'm interrupting.
Sorry, no,
Trevor.
but so that was one thing, and then the next day it was like there was a doctor on more people talking about child COVID cases and intersecting with childhood obesity, quote unquote. And this doctor being like, well, we need to talk about obesity. Why aren't doctors talking about obesity?
God.
Yeah, like
yes.
no one's talking about this major issue.
We're not. Oh,
What
he
is
really
this
cracked
word?
it. He really struck upon the one secret issue that.
His phrasing was actually even worse.
Oh, good.
In that, if I recall the way the phrasing was, it was like it
No,
was
this is a separate-
almost. Oh, this
This is
another-
another, just like
Sorry.
more people talking about that was, last week. It's like this is part of the new onslaught of obesity, air quotes, discourse with, we need to stop talking about COVID. We need to talk about obesity because that's the real thing.
Yeah, because apparently they've decided that obesity is what's driving COVID.
Well, what I'm
sense.
thinking of is I think it's another one that I think you sent it out, Trevor.
Yes.
Somebody basically made the statement of like, well, at least most of the kids that died from COVID were obese.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the thing I was referring to.
Yeah.
From-
where,
yeah.
well, thank goodness, like mostly it's those fat
No,
kids.
what he was saying is he said perspective. Keep it in perspective.
Yeah.
That COVID's not that bad. It's just the fat kids dying.
Right.
Yeah. And
Which is essentially.
which is not contradicting what I said, just to
Yeah.
point that out.
He's just being slightly more.
But yeah, I mean, there is a. So one of the cautions that I got during COVID, and I will not forget this, was like, whether or not there are comorbidities from being obese during COVID, it's a very realistic fact that some doctors are going to be like, no one's going to want to turn his ass over on a ventilator. So if there's competition for the ventilator, the fat person gets pushed out because people just don't want to deal with him, not because he is a less viable.
Yeah. And
Option.
they're very much so. The doctors have been in the position of having to choose who gets their care and who doesn't, because there have been too many, like hospitals have been overwhelmed. And to Don's point, like, do you really trust your doctor to pick you over a non-fat person?
And the answer for me is no. And I love my doctor. I think my doctor is great, but he's definitely blamed my weight for, strep throat.
Well, it should be pointed out that standard of care, like as policy across the United States in all medical treatment, is that the person who is least likely to be saved gets the least treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if they deem you to be too much, again, if they take this seriously, that, oh, you're probably not going to survive because you're also fat, then yeah, standard of care dictates, like across the country, that you will get less intervention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, to be clear, like medical bias is not purely only against fat people. Like this is why we're seeing huge resistance to vaccination among Black populations, because of their historical bad treatment from the medical institutions. So ultimately, all of this bad care is coming back and starting to bite us on the ass,
So, and this all kind of like where this, so that was like the next day. And this kind of culminated. It was a Saturday. I woke up, I open Twitter as I'm having my coffee, and hashtag stop being fat
Oh,
is
fun.
trending.
Is trending, yeah.
Yay.
And this was kind of the source. The source of this was a I don't know, internet personality who was basically offering, it was like a raffle for $500 for anyone who used the hashtag.
Wow.
What?
And this person,
Well, you got to pay people to troll.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I mean, this person is kind of like, their whole thing is like, they're kind of a troll, but like just basically sowing discord online is their brand and how they make their money.
Fun.
Well, that's called Fox.
And it's
Gotta love
just,
the internet.
No, it's called Fox. That's their business model.
But I was curious, like, I mean, it is just a like shocking increase in this kind of, I don't know how, I'm going to say fat phobia because I don't know how to pronounce the thing your fat friend proposed as.
I don't like it anyway. You have to explain it every time you use it. But basically fat hatred.
Yes. And I was curious, like, I'm obviously very like, I mean, I'm jacked in to like internet stuff, and I'm curious what everyone else's experience is in like online, offline, in different circles.
Mm-hmm.
Don, you seem
Yeah.
poised.
Well, you just seem like you're about to say something, so everyone just looked at Don.
I'll talk, but your mouth is already open.
interrupt you.
Yeah.
My observation, like that did not show up in my limited social media interactions. But what I have noticed is that in Los Angeles, in my circles of friends, people are starting to get out of the house more now than they have previously.
Yeah.
And I'm getting a lot of sort of self-hatred from people like, God, I feel so fat. I feel so out of shape. I feel so not myself. And there's a lot of self flagellation going on.
Well, that would troll it. That would troll it. Yeah, that would cause it. That would cause the trolling. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I don't think any of these people are thinking, for me, in my experience, most of these people are not thinking outside their own body. Not thinking about what them saying about themselves says by matter of transitive property about the rest of us.
But that's how this always works.
Yes.
That's how.
But it just makes it clearer and it makes it more widespread
absolutely,
right now.
Absolutely. But I mean, anybody who really hates fat people is really at the core is like, oh my God, I would kill myself if I ever looked like that. It's always coming from this internal monologue of self hate or fear of turning into something.
I was trying to figure out because I haven't really been on social media. I took a step away. I'm not on it much, mostly just Instagram. And I walked away from it almost entirely over the summer. And I was trying to figure out how I would contribute here, what I would say. And then Don, what you brought up made me realize that yes, I'm seeing the same thing, particularly in my circles playing soccer. A lot of people, like, this is our first season back. And a lot of people saying things like, oh my God, well, in between seasons, we're gonna have to really try and get in shape, or like, oh, we should do like a group workout thing, or like, oh God, like one guy had come to the game last night was like, I've lost 45 pounds and I got to keep it going, like really intense about that. And it's becoming, that kind of communication is becoming a bonding point for all of the people who hate how they look after COVID. It's not just that they're all in the same place. It's that saying it makes them feel like they're all in part of the same group, same mindset. Like, it's gaining, I think, momentum because of that. Like, well, we're all too fat right now and we can all get skinny together. It feels like that.
I'm in my mind, I'm sort of predicting things getting worse before they get better, because you're going to have this schism between these groups that succeed and then the rest of us who don't, right? Or don't try or don't succeed or whatever. And then there gets to be that self-hatred in that one group. The other group starts feeling superior, creating a greater schism. And
until you wait 2 years and the groups flop, flip-flop. And
Yeah.
And then the ones who fail take up a diet, and the ones who had been dieting gain the weight back.
very often.
And they just switch positions.
So I just feel like you're going to have a lot of people who are going to get increasingly frustrated at their own ability to change themselves because they've never needed to before, or to cope with their own self-image as that changes.
Well, and because that is, I think, as we have maybe hopefully shown over and over again, that will never make you happy. That will never sustain itself over the course of your lifetime. There's no landing point where you go, yeah, I feel at peace now.
Yeah.
But
this is because of COVID, because everybody being trapped at home, and not everybody, but a majority of us gaining weight in a way that we haven't before. I think you're going to have more people discovering this journey for the first time and
That
starting
could well be.
off
That could well
on
be.
those first steps, which often involves self-hatred, which is going to spill out into this sort of online trolling. You know,
I was talking to somebody about the differences between living, because she was from New York and this was in Boston. So we were sort of all out of our home states or home places. And I was talking about LA, and I've said this before, but there's this, being here also feels especially body judgmental. Just like in whatever direction, like judging somebody because they have a good body and like, wow, good thumbs up, or the other way around. But I think that like these are things that I'm seeing now even more so outside of it. Like a couple friends of mine, their whole relationship dynamic, they're both fat, and their whole relationship dynamic has become about trying to get thin together or thinner. And it's, I love them, but it's toxic. And it's really hard to like be in the room when it's like, I don't know, like for instance, because they do Weight Watchers, right? Or sorry, WW.
Formerly Weight Watchers.
Formerly known, the WW formerly known as Weight Watchers.
you say WW, all I can think is Wonder Woman.
Yeah, true.
That'd be great.
Not nearly as cool. And so you get points, right? But like he is a man,
Gets
the
more
way
points.
that their system works is he gets more points, and she gets mad at him because he gets more points and he gets to eat the things that she wants to be able to eat. And then you find like it's very toxic. And I don't know that I've necessarily noticed an upheaval in it, except that maybe in the soccer world I have. But I've walked away from social media. Like I'm trying to come back in ways that feel good, and I'm testing them out. But
Well, you know, some people have been pushed out of social media. There's a woman I follow called Fat Doctor UK. And this is part of a larger trend, but I'll start here with a specific. You know, she is as a physician in the UK, which is, you know, as we've talked about many times on the podcast, probably the most fat, toxic environment of the Western world, to the point that they're kidnapping fat children to put them in, you know, to re-educate them.
they're saving them, Dan. They're saving them.
So anyway, and by the way, if you think I'm joking, that's actually not true. You can look it up. I mean, it's true.
It is, yes.
It is not true that I'm joking. You can look it up. So she was banned from Instagram
Oh,
because so many people got mad at her, and fat phobes got mad at her. Physicians got mad at her because one of the things that she was getting into was how physicians, especially in the UK where she's from, were being so toxic to fat patients and really abusing them in using fat as the excuse to do nothing or, prescribe weight loss. And so she was really talking about how a lot of physicians are doing harm. And she was getting all this backlash from physicians saying like, you really shouldn't be talking about physicians in a bad way, especially during COVID when so many people are being abused and the healthcare system is overtaxed. And you should give physicians a break. And she's like, that's not really relevant to what I'm talking about. But the way that a lot of these social media platforms work, the more complaints you get against you, the more, whether or not they're justified or whatever, they just rack up. And I'm sure more than a few people tagged her as like spreading misinformation that, that you could possibly be, fat and healthy, or that weight loss is not a good prescription, or that whatever. So she was banned. And so she, only has Twitter.
Yeah.
yeah.
So she's taken refuge on Twitter because, as we all know, you can say anything on Twitter and post anything on Twitter. So what I've found, though, what I think is interesting in the larger picture here is that I think with the rise of so many vocal fat activists, there has been a commensurate rise in fat phobia and fat and people who are toxic towards fat people, because it's in the same way that when environmentalism rises, so do the coal rollers in Texas. When we call for banning guns, then the NRA steps up and says, no, we have to have guns because those children in elementary schools are dangerous. They must be shot. So we just need more teachers with guns. I think there's a sort of parity here because it's the vitriol on both sides has been rising. I mean, we know a lot of fat activists who let's just say they're not trying to make friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I get why you're not. Like, I get why, like, you feel like that time has passed. That has never worked.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole idea of like, there's a certain amount of, if you're talking nicely to the oppressor, isn't another word for that capitulation,
Mm-hmm.
or, involving yourself in your own oppression. And I get that. That's really valid. On the other hand, I don't know anybody who's changed their mind because someone just yelled at them loud enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Can I bring up a touchy subject?
Oh, please do.
So this has been on my mind a lot lately. So thinking about fat research, right? It seems from what I've read, from the sources that I believe, right? It seems like the conventional wisdom of fat science is incorrect, right? What we've been taught all our lives, right?
Yes.
However, right now I'm finding it very difficult to think about it without comparing like my stances and my takes on and the way I'm listening to information to the anti-vaxxer movement, where they are also choosing who they listen to, right?
Yep.
And they are standing against, and I'm very uncomfortable with that similarity, and I'm not sure how to reconcile that in my head right now.
Pick me.
Okay, Dan, do you have any comments on this subject?
Why, yes, Don, I do. So I totally get what you're coming from here, because I've had those similar thoughts. Like, isn't this just me picking and choosing my own data?
Yeah.
Here's the difference. You're not just picking and choosing your own data. You're looking at how that data was collected, and you're looking at it soberly. So when you look at a lot of the anti-vaxxer stuff, they're not looking at sound scientific studies. And there's a definition for what is a sound scientific study. You look at sample size, you look at correction for variables, you look at a lot of these things. When we look at the fat studies, we also can apply that same critical eye. In fact, I wasn't going to talk about this episode, but here we are. Gary Taubes just had this really interesting article in, I think, the Boston Globe or the Boston Herald. I don't know. Globe. And so I'm sort of a fan of Gary Taubes. He's not well liked in the fatosphere, which is the political arm of fat people. Because on the one hand, and this is the point of the article, and I think this addresses your point, Don, he is right that 90% of what people know about fat is absolutely wrong-headed. The whole calories in, calories out. And if you read his books and his journalism, he's been investigating this for decades. And he goes through systematically and debunks all this stuff that diet culture has been promoting. And by the way, diet culture hasn't been around that long. It's not like, we've known this for thousands of years. It's we invented this in the last 50. And so he goes through and debunks that and goes back like, if you look 100 years, here's what they were doing and it worked.
Mm-hmm.
So, but here's the disconnect with Taubes and why he's not loved in the fatosphere. So he is correct that calories in, calories out in a lot of these standard models, just, eat less, move more, why that never works or why you're not getting at the problem. But what he proposes, which is correct, is that this is much more a matter of hormones and genetics. Yes, that's true. But then he makes this additional leap, which is where this tends to fall apart. So then he goes about saying, well, if the problem is genetics and hormones, you don't really have any way to control genetics. And you have a very limited way to control hormones. But one of the hormones is insulin, and you can indirectly control insulin through carbohydrates. And so low carbohydrate diet. And the low carbohydrate diet is successful for many people, and it is not successful for many people. And the problem is that we do not understand fat and metabolism well enough to make these declarative statements like, do this and you will lose weight, or do this and you will be successful and healthy. It's easy to lose weight. Just stop eating and you'll shrink. We don't understand the biology well enough to give accurate, healthful advice. We're still in that guessing phase. We're still in that phase of like, well, if you do this, this will probably happen unless it doesn't. The difference, though, in where we are, let's say cancer research, because we know a lot about cancer, but we know very little about cancer in some ways. But the difference is that we don't blame the cancer patient when the treatment doesn't fail, whereas we almost always blame the fat person when the treatment doesn't fail. When the treatment
It doesn't work.
When the treatment fails.
Yeah,
So
you must have been cheating.
You must have been cheating. And I've had this conversation. I've even had this conversation with chubby chasers who are doctors, where they're like, oh, well, the treatment has to work. They're obviously lying. I'm like, no, that's not how fat people. That's like you don't know enough fat people.
I'm depressed. Do we have a tip?
We do.
Are you, I don't know. Are you mad as heck by all this fat bias and you can't take it anymore?
Yeah.
Well, I have news for you. NAFA, the National Association to Advance Fat Acceptance that I've mentioned many times before, is recruiting board members.
They are.
And this is, you don't have to be a current NAFA member. You just have to be passionate about fat activism. And I think we have a lot of different listeners who have different skills they bring to the table in terms of like, are you social media savvy? Are you research savvy? Do you have a background in fundraising, science, medicine? Do you love to love? Do you like rallying people? Go to nafa.org, NAAFA.org/board-recruitment. Applications are being accepted October 1st through November 15th. So you have some time to decide.
Nice. Do they have a sense of what sort of contribution they're looking for, or just more voices to help fill out their point of view? Or
so the roles they are proposing that could either be combined or changed or tweaked: community relationships director, fundraising director, legislative/political advocacy director, social media director, volunteerism director, or member at large, which is kind of like if you wear many hats, you have a giant pile of hats on top of your head, you don't know what you want to do. And some of these things may be combined. They may, I don't know, if you have, trying to think of a skill that.
I mean, that covers again.
Yeah,
that's a lot of stuff. I think that would be awesome. And I'm curious how that goes and who they end up settling with and all.
Yeah.
Well, we do have a bit today.
Yay.
Today is the return of the incredibly confusing for Dan, Never Have I Ever.
What?
So just so we can ignore the drinking game, Never Have I Ever.
I can't play
We are
this sober.
renaming this name, Have You Ever? So we're all going to be, I have brought in a number of questions because I sort of dumped this on everybody at the last minute. And I asked folks if they have a Have You Ever question that they'd like to put to the group. They may do so. However, so if you're not familiar with the rules, I'm going to ask a question. Have you ever? By asking this question, I am admitting that I have done this.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm going to see if anyone else at a microphone today has done this as well. All right. So I will lead off with, have you ever tried not to breathe too loudly while walking uphill so that the people you are walking with will not know that you are winded?
My hand shot up.
I have.
Seeing everyone but Dan raising hand. Oh, Dan has too?
I think so.
I did that not uphill, but playing soccer for the longest, my entire
Really?
childhood, all 14 years of playing soccer. I was self-conscious about how hard I was breathing.
I think for me, it's more like I don't want my breathing to get in the way of my conversation.
Okay.
And I'm conscious of that. Like I know I'm trying to mitigate that.
For me, it would actually get in the way of my ability to play the game, because you have to breathe hard when you're running that much. But I didn't want people to think it was that much effort for me, and so I would hold on to it.
That said, I have no shame about breathing like a freight train in a workout.
Well, that's interesting because I don't feel like people would judge either Dan or Michael for breathing hard. But Trevor, I think, understands my concerns of just like, people are going to think I'm going to die. Like, let's see. Have you ever turned the volume down in order to look for a parking space?
Oh, absolutely. Every time.
Okay.
I cannot parallel park with the radio on.
Yeah, I've done that. Just put it on mute.
And no, because I don't drive.
Well, there you go.
I turn the volume up.
When I drive.
And then Dan crashes.
Yeah.
Have you ever knowingly allowed fruit to go bad because you had tastier snacks available?
Oh.
Yeah, I've done that.
I don't feel like because we have this thing where if like fruit, if we put fruit, like if Dan puts my fruit in the fruit drawer.
If I put him in
fridge.
the, if I put the fruit away, he'll never find it.
Yes, it just kind of like it's like Schrodinger's banana.
He wanted apple slices. You know how like Trader Joe's has those packages of apple slices? I put them in the fruit drawer. Yeah, he never
You
found them.
idiot.
Yeah, I'm an idiot.
Well, but see what happens is, so I'm more likely to remember it if I pick it up at the store, put it in the basket, and then put it in the fridge. But if I miss one of those steps, it's like it disappears from my mind.
Never happened.
No, I
I have
understand.
one. I have one.
Okay,
I thought of one.
Michael.
It's snack based, which is very appropriate. Have you ever hosted a game night where there were snacks? Maybe people brought some snacks, and then there was going to be a follow up game night, maybe the next week. And by the time that happened, all of those snacks have been consumed.
Sort of. Trevor wanted me to get some hummus for his game night.
No, the hummus was for me.
Oh, well, then never mind. No.
I
I ate it.
Just ate it all.
I don't think I've ever done that because usually there's a type of snack I don't like at the event, and that will survive
Yeah.
miraculously.
I totally have.
Have you ever had an intense and therapeutic conversation with a pet or inanimate object?
No.
Intense.
I've had a moment. I wouldn't say a conversation,
Okay.
but I've had a moment for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nope.
No.
Nope. All right. We have our separation.
And
point here.
I asked myself, and he hasn't either.
But are they
I
sure?
have one.
Okay.
Have you ever broken a chair?
I think, Trevor, I think the question you really want to ask is how many chairs have you broken in succession? What's your record now? 3?
2.5.
Yes. I broke a lawn chair. It was like a lawn couch type thing, but I just broke one slat underneath the cushion.
Amateur.
So I stood up and walked away. I didn't say anything because I'm an asshole.
You've gotten away with it. I have definitely sat down on a chair that broke. I can't say for sure if I broke it or if it was already broken and I just revealed that it was broken to everybody.
It was just a lawn chair with a cushion, and one of the slides was broken.
I know. I don't know what happened. I just went straight through the center of it.
Stayed trapped there 2 days. Dan, do you have one you want to contribute?
Ooh. Okay. I haven't done this though, because I'm just thinking about you guys. Because
Sure,
it's
spit it
just
out.
sort of an
It's
interesting interview question because I don't do this. Because you guys play a lot of games and board games, and that's not really.
We don't know how this game works, Dan. I already can tell that this is not.
I think I've made it abundantly clear. I don't know how this game works. Thank you very much.
I don't know. This is this is going to be an especially wrong question.
I think I can do this. This works. It just doesn't apply to me.
I want to know what this question is desperately.
So my question, because I'm looking at Michael's stack of board games across from me, and I'm thinking, have you ever? Yeah, this is good. I think this is good. Have you ever? How do I say this? Have you ever done something illegal? That is to say, against the rules in a board game, but no one called you on it, and you just let it happen.
So like cheated by accident?
Well, you cheated, and you're like, oh, I really shouldn't be able to do that, but no one's saying anything. Okay, going on.
I think I probably have.
I have a follow up for this if you're
I have allowed other people to do that and not called them on it because they were frustrated with the game or they wanted.
I think I have done that, but more because cheating to me isn't interesting. Cheating to me doesn't result in, it's just not fun. I think I've done that mostly because by that point in the game, I was like frustrated and didn't really give a shit anymore.
Yeah.
So like, because I do hit a point in some games where I'm just like, you know what? I suck at this and I don't get it. And I messed this one thing up and I don't even care. Like, and I just kind of
Going on.
with it. Yeah. Like, let's just get to the end of this.
Last one.
Yep.
Have you ever wondered what you would look like as the opposite gender?
Nope.
Yes.
I did the, this was mostly because of Julia. So a few years ago, there was the like face gender swap app
Oh,
you
yeah,
could do
yeah,
where
yeah.
it would sort of make you. So Julia did that, and you have to get, when we were kids, like elementary school, people thought we were twins. We looked that similar, and it swapped her, and it looked exactly like an existing picture of me.
Wow.
And then
Wow.
I did it, and it swapped it to look exactly like an existing picture of her.
Well,
And I was like, okay, all right, I know
you-
the
so
answer.
you
to
already
that.
know the answer,
It
yeah.
would be my little sister. Yeah.
Have you ever used the gender swap app, Trevor?
Yeah, it just looks like me in a wig,
Yeah.
which is kind of how I always imagined it. Like, there was my parents were going to name me Margot,
Oh yeah, that's
and I
right.
just picture Margot as like me in a wig, and maybe Margot is a little more into her Polish heritage and plays
Yeah.
the accordion.
Yeah, I think Margot is a lot more crunchy than Trevor is. Yeah.
Why do I have no issue seeing you with a wig named Margot? Like, this is not hard for me.
Yeah.
It's hard for me.
No, me neither.
I
I get it. I get it done.
I can see where that would happen, but I also feel like I think if Trevor and Margot were siblings, they would not like each other.
No.
Oh no, not at all.
Yeah, that's where I go with that.
And Margot sounds like Miss Piggy in my mind.
I think if Dan was gender swapped, he'd be a very militant bull-dyke lesbian.
That makes sense. Yeah. No, I've never had this inquiry go through my head actually, which is
So I-
really more remarkable than if I had, I think.
I've often said that I think a great couple's costume for me and Dan would be Mulder and Scully, and I think it's hilarious either way.
So the couple's costume I've been batting around with Michael for this Halloween because we're gonna do a Harry Potter themed Halloween party. Then you don't have to dress up like, but we were trying to figure out a couple's costume. And I was like, couldn't think of something. He said, "What if I was a golden snitch, and then you could be the seeker?" And then I was like, okay, but then there's also a chaser
Yep.
in Quidditch, and I was like, but that's not the right. It's like it almost works, but it doesn't quite
What
work.
does the chaser in Quidditch do?
The chaser is the one who scores goals. They use the quaffle, and
He could be a
Score.
Quidditch hoop, like just
he could be Quidditch.
Wow.
You know, for someone who hates puns,
And
you're
you
truly
could
dressed as
Probably
a
not.
quaffle.
That maybe gives a little too much of the wrong impression. You're
No,
just
but
a
it's like
hold
a-
of me.
he can have like a hula hoop on,
Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear.
and he can still be the snitch then.
So what do you think Michael and Michael should dress up for as Halloween?
I'll take suggestions. I'm happy to hear them. Let us know. Where can they let us know, Trevor? Michael, you should probably bring up the social media music before you do that. I feel like I have done that before.
Did we just die?
I have definitely done that before. So I have this shouldn't be on the board anymore. I have a sound effect that is supposed to hit the end of the social media. Like that's the it's over. But it's called the same thing because I don't have enough characters in the board to like label things. Anyway, I'll just take it out. You ready, Trevor?
Sure.
And go.
We're on Twitter and Instagram as @BigFatGayPod. We're on Facebook as Big Fat Gay Podcast. Give us 5 stars there.
Yeah.
Give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all the podcast sites.
Yeah.
Podchaser too.
You figure it out.
Yeah. there's a lot of them. 5 stars everywhere. See the articles we talked about at www.bigfatgaypod.com.
Whee.
Yeah. Maybe you're clicking through upsetting trends, and it's not Stop Being Fat because it's us. And there's a GIF of Michael, and he's dancing, he's vibing. It's a great GIF. And then the GIF, it's a movie actually. He looks at you, and he says,
Watch out.
"Oh no,
I missed. That's all it was. That wasn't on purpose. I just missed. And watch out. That is for sure still.
Somebody needs to watch out.
I literally just missed the button.